Hello and welcome back to the Triple Cross Podcast. You're here with Casey at Niners Fan Man and John at Triple Cross John. John, we were just having a particularly enthralling discussion.
Yeah,
about
discussing the real important topics.
Absolutely, as is the case usually on this program. I put on this sweatshirt. You saw me do it. Because I liked it better than the short sleeve. It messed
I saw you
the
get
whole
it
gear.
last week too. Like when we were at Daps. Yeah,
I had to like change the headgear and everything, and kind of switch up. Anyway, we got sent down this rabbit hole of sweatshirts and trends around it. How do you wear them? How do you rock them? I think back to like the 90s. You used to tie it around your waist. I think that kind of had a comeback too. I didn't jump back on the comeback. I was never really on the train to begin with. Totally fair. But you brought up something.
If I have literally nothing else to do with my sweatshirt, I might tie it around my waist. But I
probably would go over the shoulders like preppy boy before that.
I do that, but I hate both. Honestly,
I don't think either think of us as I don't think anybody thinks as either of us as a preppy boy, preppy guy. But that is more the move than like around the waist for some reason. Maybe it's because we got short legs. I don't know.
I think if before I go around the waist, I think anytime I'm doing around the waist or shoulders, I'm honestly like, how much do I like this sweatshirt? Could I just throw it away? I'd be cool with that. That's my decision tree for putting a sweatshirt around my waist. I might just throw this thing away before I do that.
Yeah. So you brought up something pretty interesting as we were going down this sweatshirt rabbit hole. And you said you were maybe... Yeah, I'll let you say. What were you talking about, John?
So I've got some old sweatshirts that how you wash them enough times and they start to get a little small, or maybe I've just gotten fatter. It could be that.
But they're comfortable. They're you know what I mean? Those old sweatshirts there's something soothing about.
They're still comfortable, but they've been washed enough that they're not big anymore. They're not as baggy as
right.
A hoodie to be.
Sure.
So I'm thinking about maybe I make them a cutoff hoodie. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I can pull off the cutoff hoodie. I don't know. I don't know what you have to do to be able to pull that off, but I have one cutoff hoodie that I'll wear to basketball sometimes, and I'll usually play the first game or two in it, and then I'll switch it or whatever. But I actually sweat a ton, so I have to switch. This is a little TMI, but I have to switch my shirt multiple times while I'm playing pickup.
Yeah, hey, no sweat shame here. I'm a sweater as well. Even not during physical activity sometimes, but that's beside the point. No, I love the idea of the cutoff sweatshirt. I think I shared it with you a couple of months ago. There was this thing I just happened to send you, hey man, look at this, because I know you're a big fan of Don, and he has this line of cutoff sweatshirt guy. And I was like, man, that is a rocking one. I don't love it because it costs $35. So I just couldn't bring myself to it. But I liked it. I liked it a lot. And I liked the idea of the cutoff sweatshirt. But you said as an intermediary, you might start because you're a little you're worried about the cut.
Yeah, do I go all the way to the shoulder cutoff?
Yeah, you were talking
maybe
should I start with a short sleeve,
sleeve,
a Bill Belichick, if you will. A Bill Belichick cutoff.
Doesn't he specifically it's he's almost between all the way cut off?
He's like a
sleeve, he doesn't
quarter sleeve or something. He's
No, I'm talking about and it still fits pretty tight. So it'd be it'd be this shirt, you know what I mean? So it wouldn't be his are huge and baggy too, and it's a quarter sleeve thing. I don't that.
Still think in name, at least, in out of respect to the greatest head coach, and that's hard for me to say. He's not my team's coach. Respect to the GOAT head coach. You call anything between full sleeve and no sleeve the Bill Belichick when it comes to sweatshirts specifically.
What if you just cut it off to right there, the elbow?
That's a
that's a new thing. That's a new person.
That's a chicken and a half,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. It's a Bill Belly.
Yeah.
Bill.
You get Bill Belly out. Oh, no. Yeah. Okay. Hold on. I didn't even mean for this to happen, but I forgot. Recently, we went camping essentially at a comedy festival. I did.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a movie.
You went out into the world? I was very shocked by that. Okay,
I know, bro. Ahead. I know. I was at the Gorge, actually. Super hot. And I realized there is a type of, this is not exactly sweatshirt related, but it did spring into mind as we're talking about this. I rocked a crop top. I cut a t-shirt that just doesn't fit well. I had already chopped off the sleeves because they were just crazy long sleeves, and I hated them. So I was just you know what? this is a no sleeve shirt. Then I realized, this is already kind of an experimental shirt. I still don't love it. It was too long. It was just like a big and tall shirt that I got when I was like in the 5th grade. And my mom was like, you'll grow into it, and I did, but never in the right
not
dimensions.
That much. Yeah.
Like it fit into the belly. It still goes to my knees.
You probably only have grown 5-6 inches, maybe 5 inches.
Yeah, it's been depressing. And that shirt has been a constant reminder. I was like, you know what? Today we level the playing field. I still want coverage from the sun on my shoulders so I don't get sunburnt there. So I cut it off kind of like top of stomach. I was going to see a Bert Kreischer stand-up festival. So it was right on brand. And I'm not going to lie to you. I think I might do that again, make some more for the backyard because that's nice. It looks very like 80s, 90s football player.
You let the belly fly.
It's very like the dimensions of like what you'd see on like an NFL practice field. I'm like, you know what? Let's go with that. If we get 100 likes on this video, I'll wear one on the next episode.
There we go. Yeah.
So
I like that.
A little incentive for you guys.
How many likes to just no shirt at all? Casey wears no shirt on the next
That's got to be at least 200 likes, John.
200 likes for that one, huh?
200 likes. Okay. John. So John is cutting off his sleeves. We will get an update on that.
Maybe I'll wear that.
Likes, incentives. And we'll keep up on our fashion at another date. But today, John, we are going to dive into some football content first. We will hit up basketball later, so stick around if you're a fan of both. We'll also be doing giveaways at the end of the show. Maybe one one mid.
Let's do 10 likes, dude. 10 likes was fun the other day. So every 10 likes, we'll do a $25 gift card. I think that's right for off-season shows. There's not as many people around. So every 10 likes, we'll do $25 gift cards. So get the likes on the video. I think right now, what are we sitting at? I see 5. So, get the likes on the video, $25 gift card. As soon as we hit 20, we'll do a spin. We'll spin for one of those gift cards as soon as we hit 20 likes. But if we don't ever get to 20, then we'll just do the one at the end. We always do one at the end though on playback. So yeah, the way where you get the gift card is on playback. So playback.tv/triplecross. There's a link to that in the description. Make sure you like the video before you go there. But if you want to just go there and watch the show, you can also do that, right? We got it live streaming there. Yes, we do.
We do.
So,
confirmed.
Yeah.
It's very cool over there. Our VIPs chat with one another. You're in the cool kids club if you're over on playback during the episode. That's where the really cool chats come in. And we check in there periodically as well. So John, today we're getting into some NFL news first and foremost. Then we'll dive into a little bit more fantasy content. I think it'll be very well tailored to this crowd. I asked you some questions about what you think would be the most valuable, and it was some great feedback. But before we get into the fantasy stuff, let's talk a little bit of news. I got a couple of QB items to take care of here. First off the bat, we got Joe Burrow.
Joey B.
Yeah, Joey B. Really one of the most quickly ascending quarterbacks in the game. Joe Burrow for the Cincinnati Bengals. He came up with a little bit of an injury. What was this? Yesterday? I can't remember.
I think it was yesterday. I don't know. I bet this guy's going to tell us about it.
Well, this guy, we probably won't hear him. I don't think we can hear him, right?
Taking a closer look.
I can hear him.
Yeah, nothing here.
Yes.
Okay, you can hear him.
11, Burrow. He scrambles outside of that pocket. He's
let's get this full screen.
Suffered a calf strain undergoing.
Let's watch this one more time.
With the quarterback in Joe Burrow. Taking a closer look at what was happening at practice today. 11 on 11. Burrow, he scrambles outside of that pocket. He's believed to have suffered a calf strain undergoing further testing. For context, Burrow suffered an ACL injury in his rookie year. That was his left knee, and this looks to be like his right calf.
All right, John. So you had a pretty cool, long distance, very competitive long distance runner, D1 athlete, kind of flying under the radar. Gotta give you some respect here. You are the guy who knows about lower body injuries, and you said something to me that I thought was particularly interesting on this.
So specifically chronic lower body injuries. So like torn ACL, whatever. I don't know that much about that, but chronic ones that happen like over time, like calf strains, stress fractures, things like that, oftentimes zigzag down the lower body. So if you hurt your right hip, if you have problems with your right hip, then it'll probably like manifest in your you could take care of that, but it'll probably start to manifest in like your left quad, your left knee, your left hamstring, and then that would manifest back into your right, and then that would manifest back into your left. So if you had a right leg injury, a right knee injury, and you were favoring that at all, oftentimes that won't show up necessarily again on the right leg, but it'll show up on the left leg, zigzagging downwards. So like in the left calf, that's speculation. I don't know if that's what's going on here, but I do know that happens a lot with chronic lower leg injuries. So could be related to that knee injury, but I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Also
so for context there, not everybody knows probably, but yeah, he did have a left ACL. I think it was ACL, definitely a left knee injury, which was kind of in the first couple of years of his career. He recovered really well from that, but now, as John is saying, he might be suffering some like compensatory damage, maybe on the right leg in the calf string. You can see in that clip, by the way, he was already wearing a sleeve on that leg, so I think it's likely that something was going on there, right? Like that sleeve isn't there for just like fashion only, right? He doesn't think it looks
soreness. Cool. They said he had calf soreness before.
Right. Likely, right? That's probably
what it could have been cramping or something like that. I mean, that's the other thing is like this time of year, especially, I think cramping is pretty common training camps.
Right.
So, I mean, he could have had some cramping yesterday and then it just kind of weakened it or whatever. Strain is a really interesting muscle injury because what is a strain? A strain means there is no tearing at the ligaments, no tearing in the muscle.
But it hurts. Owie.
But it's bad enough that we need to take some time off of it. So you can think of it like that, right? So they definitely should sit him out training camp. Like why risk it? Don't risk it with Joe Burrow for sure. The Bengals are a contender with Joe Burrow behind center, and without Joe Burrow behind center, they are not a contender. So don't risk it. Like, keep him out of training camp, maybe sit even preseason, but just make sure he's right, I think.
Yeah, I think for sure a player of that caliber, you just got to play the situation right for him. You definitely don't want to rush him back. It's very important to your team success, but if he misses, even a handful of games in the regular season, which I don't think he will, but even if he did, this team can still get to where they need to get to make the postseason and make a playoff push. So you really can't afford like a re-injury or re-aggravating this injury.
Chris says Burrow sits out. Christopher Vance says Burrow sits out preseason. Be ready for week 1. He said that in the YouTube chat. That's kind of where I'm at too. I would do that if I were the Bengals. Why? Preseason doesn't matter.
Yeah, he's not a guy who needs to earn his position, nothing like that. I think for the regular season, this is about the time frame where an injury like this or injury news like this that is not insignificant, but also not super significant. It's just kind of right in the middle. Like, it's kind of significant. That actually starts to play a factor because it will start to impact the way they play at the beginning of the season. I think the Bengals will still be a great team, but he's not developing the chemistry with his receiving threats that he should be right now. And he's just not getting the reps. So he's going to have to treat, either preseason or the first couple of weeks like it's training camp. Then he'll be firing on all cylinders by the time they make the playoffs and have the playoff push, like I said. But it is something to note now that the Bengals might come out stumbling a little bit. So what I think
too, though.
Yeah, that's what a lot of great teams do in the NFL, honestly. What I think makes a bigger difference with this injury, what I think it has a greater impact on, opposed to the Bengals' success, is the incoming deal that Joe Burrow is going to get. So I believe he's in contract talks now. He's, of course, one of those quarterbacks you want to lock up for as much of the future as possible. If you could get this guy for the next 10 years, you should, a la the Patrick Mahomes deal in Kansas City. And we have some recent quarterback re-signings, contract extensions, things like that to touch on to kind of give you an idea of how this might impact Joe Burrow, who I would say at this point is a top 5 quarterback. Nobody's really arguing that in the NFL. We have all these extensions from guys who are not quite in that tier, and I think it's going to be interesting comparing them. So Justin Herbert got paid just the other day as well. He's actually the highest paid NFL quarterback in the league right now. John, just your gut reaction. How does that feel? Justin Herbert being the top paid.
Like you said, he got paid just the other day. Like, oh yeah, it was payday. Got his check, went to the bank, cashed it. It doesn't. I mean, look, he's not the best quarterback in the NFL, but it honestly feels right to me because that's the way the contracts are headed. So it's like every kind of tier 1 quarterback who's up for renewal is going to become the highest paid QB in the NFL until the next one's up for renewal. You know what I mean? So I think probably anyone in that top, maybe not all the way to top 10, but that top 7 or 8 quarterbacks for sure. Maybe top 10 quarterbacks, they're all going to become that every time their contract is renewing, right? So it was Lamar Jackson before him, correct?
Yeah. So Lamar back in late April, Lamar signed with the Ravens. He had a contract extension for 5 years worth $260 million.
Mhm.
10 days before that, on April 17th, Jalen Hurts signed with the Eagles. Very similar deal, 5 years, 255. So 5 million less on
Yeah,
the
I mean,
5 years
and
than
Jalen
Jackson.
Hurts that makes sense that he's
And just for comparison, I didn't actually say the details. Herbert had the same 5-year treatment. He's getting 262.5 million. So
yeah.
2.5 million more than Lamar. Basically, it's just that cherry on top. Yes, you are the next newest. You're resetting the market technically. It was really done
Mhm.
by this whole class though. So
Yeah. No, and I mean when Joey B's up, he'll probably become the next highest paid QB in the league. When Brock Purdy's up, he'll probably become the next highest
okay,
paid
hold
QB.
on,
You
hold on.
see what I
Well,
did there?
maybe, but that's like three. That's
Brock
like
Purdy
3
is
years in the future.
Brock Purdy is a very high value right now.
But
On
the
his current
value in
contract.
Purdy is not.
Um,
It's due to the small salary that they pay him.
that's
He's
what I
on
said.
a
That's what I
seventh
mean.
round
He's a
pick.
very
Yeah,
high
yeah.
value for his pay.
Exactly,
Yeah.
to an actual
Um,
franchise, which is exactly what the 49ers need, because they could
yeah.
never
So,
afford
but
a
yeah, all of
contract
them. I
like
mean,
this anyway.
if Pat hadn't signed that 10-year deal, he'd be the same thing. You know.
And they have that's just to have the rights to him. It's kind of an interesting negotiating tactic because it
Mhm.
just gives them the rights to renegotiate as much as they want within that period. But he has no other option. Like it's hard. Like it'd have to be a trade essentially. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just interesting. They're obviously going to renegotiate that as the 10 years kind of goes forward. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's a little bit on
I mean,
QB
maybe the
stuff.
quarterbacks just, like how they buy each other gifts like, people buy their
They buy
quarterbacks
their
gifts.
O lines gifts.
They buy the
Usually.
online gifts. Brees Hall gave Aaron Rodgers something just barely, right? Like gave him a necklace or something like that. Maybe just to like squash this whole running back thing. Like maybe these quarterbacks are just like, throw you a couple mil, just a cool 5 mil, nothing to me. Maybe we're just gonna see more of that, and then they don't have to go on strike. They're like, I would like to make my money, so I don't want to go on strike for you. So here's a cool 5 mil.
I agree. Yeah, 5 mil is not digging too deep into the pockets, honestly.
No. Yeah, but for the running backs, it's like it's a nice little add-on.
So I think the news being all around quarterbacks, I mean, it's not new this week. It's been basically the whole offseason. Basically, these are the only guys who are worth talking about in the offseason, it seems like, to the more casual fans, to the national media. Every once in a while, you get some like, a big playmaker ends up on a new team. But a quarterback just re-signing to his same team is massive news, which is not usually the case.
Well, I mean, we're a little starved in the offseason, that's for sure.
For sure, but we're heading into what I would call fantasy football season.
But hold on, before we get into that, do you want to talk about Jalen Ramsey? Jalen Ramsey's going to be out till December, I think. I just looked right before this. So meniscus tear, got tied up with Tyreek Hill in training camp. Tyreek seems okay, I guess, but Jalen Ramsey, torn meniscus, going to have his meniscus repaired. Will be out till December. So
what does this mean?
And Jalen Ramsey, he's like an elite DB. So that's
he fell off a little bit last year. It's one of those positions where it's a pretty steep decline when you start to, and maybe that's a false drop off. Maybe that's not real yet.
Tear is not going to help, but yeah,
it definitely won't. And who knows how it'll be remembered in history? But we've probably seen the best football we've seen from Jalen Ramsey in the NFL because of the injury, if nothing else. So it'll be something to monitor for sure. He should definitely be good enough to, impact the Dolphins season a little bit, even in, well, maybe not. Maybe not, actually, if he's out through December or till December.
December is his likely return, but that's the other thing is that it's like that's his return.
Yeah, it won't be 100%. He'll be he'll be just done recovering. If they make the playoffs, he'll still be able to factor into playoff matchups, and he will impact them in a positive way no matter what. That's just the kind of player he is. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the Dolphins deal with that long term, where their offense is, most would say, pretty incredible, star-studded. But yeah, their defense, they really could use a guy like that. That's why they got him over the offseason. Sucks to lose him because you're planning on that guy performing. Okay, so again, most of the talk today is about quarterbacks in the offseason and cornerbacks, like Jalen Ramsey, I guess. But none of that has anything to do really with most of fantasy football. The quarterbacks matter to some degree, but I would say that's one of the biggest things that newer people to fantasy football kind of overestimate is how much the quarterback matters. We'll get into that a little bit here, but we're going to move on to a segment called Fantasy Q&A. So if you have any questions about fantasy football, about strategies, about just any random stuff, about rules, anything you could ever think of, drop it into the chat. We might answer it live on the show. Otherwise, we're just going to talk a little bit around it, and I'm going to describe a few different ways to think about fantasy football that I think help as a good scaffolding for new players or players who just need a better understanding of the game. John, what do you think about that?
Let's do it. Yeah, this is helpful. I mean, I'm not a complete beginner, but like, definitely not even intermediate status when it comes to fantasy football. I typically just like take the next recommended pick during drafts, especially after the first few rounds. So this will be fun.
Yeah, it should be an all right time. So again, if you have any questions, drop them in and we'll get to them as soon as we can. We'll kind of let them stack up a little bit if we get a few. Then we'll answer them in between these things. So first thing we need to talk about, the language in which no matter what your strategy is, the language that you need to think through is average draft position. We call it ADP. If there is no other stat that you remember besides the already football stats, passing touchdowns, passing yards, things like that, the real stats, this is the only fantasy football stat that you need to really have an idea around to really excel in your fantasy football drafts. ADP, average draft position. Put simply, it's just what number pick any player tends to go. Okay.
On average.
So really clearly,
so this is not the payroll software.
Right. The first the first player who normally goes off the board in a draft will probably have an ADP around 1. Okay. Mm-hmm. So today we're going to assume that the ranking sheet that we're looking at, I'm going to give a little zoomy zoom on this guy.
Yeah, give me like 1 zoom, maybe 2 zooms.
There, something like that. Maybe
1 more. Yeah.
Oh, that might have been too far.
Now they're kind of behind me, but that's all right.
We've gone too far.
You know who it is. It's Justin Jefferson and Christian McCaffrey and Jamar.
Here, I'll put it right there. That fits really nice. Okay. So so at the top of this list, we have Justin Jefferson. So these are actually going to be rankings, but these rankings are by ADP. So we don't have to deal with this guy's 1.2, this guy's 1.3. They just put them in a nice, easy order for us. John, does that make sense? Did I mess anything up in that description?
No, I don't think you did.
Awesome. Okay. So we're looking at the top 10 players in ADP here. It has it really nicely laid out 1 through 10 for us. We can see their positional ranks, which again it's not something you actually need to know, but it's nice if we're going over it together here. You can see just how many running backs are in the top 10. There's 5 of them. You can see just how many wide receivers there are. There's 4 of them. And then there's 1 tight end. John, there's 1 position of note missing from there.
Is it the defense?
It is the defense. The team defense is not in there on the top 10.
Oh, yeah. Also, there's no quarterbacks.
That's what it is. There's no quarterbacks. They make all the money in the real NFL. But when it comes to fantasy, they don't deserve your absolute top picks. Disclaimer, this is for 1 quarterback leagues. We're not going to dive more into that today. But if your team only needs 1 quarterback, you don't need to spend a first-round pick on him, no matter who it is.
2 quarterback leagues are more fun.
It is. It really is. But most people still aren't playing that way. So we're talking about regular, normal fantasy football. If you're in the Triple Cross League, some of this will be helpful.
Do we have a Superflex?
We do. It's a Superflex league. Yep.
So it could be
it's actually a clone of the league that you were in before with me, John. So yep.
So you could play 2 quarterbacks in that league, but
absolutely. But that's beside the point today. We're talking about 1 quarterback leagues here. Otherwise, this stuff will get confusing. So if your team only needs 1 quarterback, here's the order in which Yahoo, this is from actual mock drafts that the most competitive fantasy football players have mock drafted. The number 1 guy off the board is Justin Jefferson, receiver from the Minnesota Vikings, followed by Christian McCaffrey, San Francisco running back, Jamar Chase, Cincinnati wide receiver. Those are pretty normally the top 3 just about everywhere. Then it gets a little bit more sporadic. I just know that from experience doing my own mock drafts. I'll just list them off really quickly. The remaining of the top 10: Cooper Kupp, Austin Eckler, Jonathan Taylor, Tyreek Hill, Bijan Robinson, Travis Kelce, and 1 Nicholas Chubb. So yeah, again, the main takeaway here, I would say, is that there are 5 running backs, 4 receivers. That should do everything that it needs to explain to you that those are the two most important positions in fantasy football. John, do you agree, disagree?
Yes, well, yeah. I mean, unless you're in a 2-quarterback league, but yeah, like you said, not focusing on that, and I would say even more so, like, I'm not a pro, but I tend to focus in early picks. Like, I would be taking those RBs off the board, and I would maybe even go to, Saquon Barkley, Tony Paul, like deeper RBs before I might take a higher receiver. Unless it's somebody I'm like really, really confident in. JJ, Tyreek Hill, those are both guys who are like, they're going to get a lot of targets. Travis Kelce's going to get a lot of targets. So they might be worth it, like that first overall pick that you have, or the second overall pick that you have, depending on where you are in your draft. But personally, I like to go to the RBs. Not everybody does that, though.
And we'll lay out some really broad, just general strategies that you could adopt for your leagues out there. We'll get to that in just a second. But really quickly, as we continue on, you can see through the next 10 players through up to the 20th most drafted player, we have 10 receivers now, 9 running backs. That makes up 19 already. There's still only one non-running back or receiver. That was still the one tight end, Travis Kelce at the very top. And all the way down at 27 is where we see the QB1 appear. It's actually Jalen Hurts. I mean, what a season he had last year to become the number 1 ranked fantasy football quarterback. I know, just again from my own experience, there's 2 more guys right behind him at 32 and 33 overall. Mahomes and Allen. That's your QB 1, 2, and 3. We're going to call that typically a tier break. They're all kind of packed together. Way down below somewhere, we'll find another quarterback, Joe Burrow at 48. He just got injured a little bit. He's bound to take a hit. That's going to make that tier 1 even more substantial. We don't even see another quarterback in the top. Oh, there he is at 52, Lamar Jackson. So we're probably only going to have 3 quarterbacks going in the first 5 rounds of fantasy drafts. Just so everybody knows, if you're not taking one of those top 3 guys, Mahomes, Allen, or Jalen Hurts, you really don't need to reach into the early rounds at all. You'll be able to get guys later. So that's just general knowledge you need to know. John, we could go through the ADP of all the players all day long if we wanted to, but I thought we would open this 100. Up 1 through, usually it's 250. Those are the real fantasy
buckle
lists.
Up. Yeah.
Top buckle 250. But we're not going to do that today. That's not going to be fun for most people. I did want to give you a chance to maybe pry some information out of me. As you pointed out before, I have this sheet that I work on in the off season. It has basically my own version of ADP and things like that. I thought I'd give you the chance, maybe you and the chat, a chance to take 3 players and have me tell you what my target pick number I have for them compared to their ADP.
So drop players that you want to know where Casey's got them compared to their ADP. One person already has. So 3 Walketeers asks, do you think Breece Hall is worth his ADP?
So Breece Hall, I mean, are we using that as one of the numbers, or are we just talking around that?
Yeah, where do you have him compared to his ADP?
Breece Hall is a tough one, first of all. So Breece Hall, for those who don't know, has suffered his own leg injury. It was season-ending last year. It's atypical that players come back at 100% in the next season. And Breece Hall was a rookie last year on the Jets, no less, like a team that's not typically heralded for their extreme offensive prowess, let's say. But they did kind of change that a little bit last year. And that was with Zach Wilson at quarterback. This year they have A-Rod, Aaron Rodgers in town. He's going to propel that offense a little bit better. They have some better weapons in the receiving room. Garrett Wilson is now a sophomore receiver. He's bound to be a breakout, it seems like. Breece Hall should be recovered. It's not totally clear if he's ready at the beginning of the season. I think best guess is usually he's going to miss a couple of weeks. His ADP, just so that we are all on the same page, let's find him together here. He's probably still on the first page.
I'm guessing he's got to be top 30 at least.
Maybe it would only not be because of the injury, but here he is at 23. So at 23, John, you're sure you want to waste my ADP on this one?
Yeah, it came from the chat, dude. It's not me.
I love it. So on my list, Breece Hall is number 20. So
you actually have him
apparently higher. I do think he is worth the cost. I mean, that's a basic,
how much subjective like Casey I like this guy, do you put into it? Like for example, if I said a Cowboy, would you almost certainly have them lower? And if I said a Niner, would you almost certainly have them higher?
Yes. But within reason. Only I use my sheet to draft from. So I build in my bias and I build in some bias like protection as well. Because I know at a certain point I might not like a guy, but if I'm just making a dumb decision, I'm going to lose a ton of points. Yeah, you got to know when to take them. So a guy like Brees, I would say I'm generally high on. I wish he could start the regular season. I wouldn't normally spend a second or third round pick on a guy like that. But I would say if you're in the third round, which is picks 21 through 30 in a 10-team league, and he's available, and you need a running back, you could do a lot worse. So he has my sign off, but I will admit he's a fairly high risk player. If it's something like a keeper league, lot better pick, because if you could keep him in the third round the year after, that's how most keeper leagues work. He'll be a great pick one more year removed from the leg injury, or he's about the best shot you can have. So I'm generally in. So yes, I do think he's worth it to 3 Walketeers. Great question.
Okay. If anyone else has another player that they want to heat check their average draft position against what Casey's got him at, drop him in. We could use Purdy. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, Mike thinks it's all but given. Yeah. It's all but given. I'm going to take Purdy.
Let's use Purdy. Where's his ADP and where do you have him?
Okay, well, hang on here. Hold on to your hat. I'm going to have to find him here because I'm not scrolling through to find Brock Purdy. He is at 184 on rank.
Does that even put him in that? What QB is he? QB 21. So in a 10-team league, on average, he's not even getting drafted.
Absolutely not. No. Even in a 10-team league where most people are taking 2 quarterbacks, he's maybe getting drafted in that case. But if there's only 15 or 16 or 17 taken, he's probably not getting taken. I will say that just so that I don't seem quite as homerish, we really only had it confirmed this week that Purdy is even going to that he's ready to play. He's full participation in training camp, even though they've said full participation really kind of means we're still sort of being careful, but he's cleared to do whatever. We didn't know that till this week, so people were probably hedging their bets quite a bit. That's why you still see guys like Trey Lance pretty high up in ADP. Just for reference here, Purdy's at 184. I'd be willing to bet Lance is right around there, probably higher, honestly. 303. So it has been adjusted quite a bit since then. So, but third string, second string quarterback would not even normally be that high. So you can see a little bit of the effects there. So back to Purdy. I do have my number up, but just to remind you guys, on Yahoo, he is being drafted at 184. And am I higher or lower on him? I am higher on him, naturally, of course. I have Brock Purdy rated at my 113 spot. So I am quite a bit higher on him. That makes sense. It makes sense. I will also say that I'm generally in on the strategy of stacking players from the same team as long as it's a quarterback and one of their threats. So if I end up with a guy, throughout the draft, which this also makes even more sense if you think about it. If I have a chance to get Christian McCaffrey, I will. If I get a chance to get George Kittle at tight end, I might, if that's a value there where others might pass up. Even one of their receivers, things like that. If I've already taken one of those guys, the odds of me drafting Purdy at that spot in the 12th round or whatever I was talking about, in the 12th round, I'll take him as my QB2 because there's some upside there, especially attached to another playmaker. So
Casey also is a person who will basically sometimes not draft a quarterback. He'll be the last person to draft a quarterback.
Sometimes I've evolved on that a little bit this year, especially, but that used to be a real easy way to hack fantasy leagues. Everybody would take quarterbacks way too early and you could get a lot of value by being the last guy to do it. People have wisened up a little bit.
We've got a couple guys coming from the chat that are so let's just kind of maybe rapid fire through some of them.
Sure.
3 Walketeers, Texans fan, thoughts on Dameon Pierce.
All right, let's do this.
So Dameon Pierce ADP
look up. Dameon Pierce is at 44.
And Casey
44.
has him at.
Well, I mean, I only said I'm giving you 3 numbers of mine. So which one do we want of mine? I'll say higher or lower on all of them, though, if you want. I mean, I'm down with that.
Yeah, sure. Higher or lower.
Let's.
I mean, maybe an order of magnitude.
Yeah.
A lot higher or. A little
Yeah,
higher.
yeah. Oh, for sure, for sure. I am fairly in on Dameon Pierce. I'm not avoiding Dameon Pierce. I will say this. I haven't been drafting him a lot. I think that price is a little too steep, honestly. There are some question marks in that backfield, which could be good things for him, could be bad things. But at this point, especially in mock drafts, especially trying to like sharpen your sword, get really ready for real drafts coming up, you need to take your guys. If you're in on him, I don't think it's crazy, but I actually have him about 10 picks behind that. So if he's available around after he should be, again, that's kind of where it's like, it's probably worth it to take a guy like that. That's how I see Dameon Pierce. He just goes too high for my blood.
Okay, a couple quarterbacks here, and then one that's pure speculation. So Mike wants to know Tua Tag. You say the last name. I don't know it.
Tua Tagovailoa ranked 90th here, the 10th QB. So that's an important number
because
that means he should be a starter in your home fantasy leagues. And on my list, I think I'm really close to this number, by the way. I'll just say that first. Technically, I'm behind this. I have him at 90. Actually, I have him at 90 exactly. 90th ranked.
You're right.
I use my system a little differently. He is 90th on my player sheet, but I have a target number based off real like mock draft data that I use, and I want him no earlier really than the 96th pick. So that's information. So if you're the back,
so a little
of the
lower
10th round, right? Back of the 10th round, I think he's a really good pick there. 11th round, auto smash. Just take him if you need. Again, he's more of a backup quarterback. Hopefully you have one already. If you don't have one, feel free to reach around earlier. Take him in the 9th round and pick, 85, 86, whatever. If you need a quarterback still, the last thing you want is for somebody to take him as the backup and you're left holding the bag with somebody potentially worse. And I saw another name in here. I know we're going to it next.
Deshaun Watson.
Yeah. So I have these guys extremely close in my rankings, which most of the offseason has not been the case. Let's see how Yahoo is treating Deshaun. 92. Extremely close. Extremely close. They have him just a skosh behind Tua. I think there's, if I'm being honest, this is not like a defend Deshaun podcast, but I think there's a little bit of like Deshaun hate baked in just because of his situation. People aren't excited to take him. And the fact that him and Tua are so close at QB 10 and QB 11, I think we could be reading into it too far if we're dissecting this too hard. I actually have Deshaun Watson a little bit higher. I have Tua at 90 on my list. I have Deshaun Watson at 83.
Okay,
so 7 spots higher. I have Tua. I want him at pick number 96, no higher. Deshaun, I have him at pick number 90 on the dot. So same round, exact same tier quarterback, basically interchangeable in my mind. Both extremely high upside, both fairly low side.
Yeah. Andrew says this does sound like a Defend Deshaun podcast.
Andrew
really quick heads up. We'll do one more, and this one's pure speculation because we almost certainly will be higher on him than his current ADP. But before we get into that, there is currently 10 likes on this video or 9 likes on this video on YouTube, guys. So one more like, and we will do a $25 DAPS gift card giveaway. As soon as we hit 20, we'll just do one. But one more like to lock one up to secure that $25 giveaway. So if you haven't liked the video yet and you're on YouTube, make sure you hit like so somebody can win $25. All right, last one, pure speculation. Looks like Dalvin Cook could accept a Jets offer. He might be a week 1 starter. Where does he rank then for you guys? I'm pretty sure he's talking about Dalvin Cook.
Yeah, he is talking about Dalvin Cook.
Dalvin Cook.
I haven't seen anything definitive at all when it comes to Dalvin Cook. I can tell you guys where I have him because I've been drafting him a lot over the offseason. Let's check in on the Yahoo for him. I did look up Chris Olave. I'll do this one for free.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So three Walketeers also asked about Chris Olave.
So Chris Olave, I am generally in on. Chris Olave can be your best receiver on your team for sure. Yahoo has him at 26. I think he's going to have a phenomenal season. I think he is being a touch overdrafted. He is such a fun player to watch. Those guys tend to get taken a little early. He's a young player too. Makes sense if you're in a keeper league to overvalue him a little bit too. I have him as my number 40 guy on my list right now. It's not a It's not me saying that he's not going to be good or anything. Again, I just don't get the chance to take him a lot. There's other guys in that area. This is kind of back to what you were saying, John, where I might still be looking for running backs more than most people. That pick number 20, that 26th pick, that's the 3rd round pick. If you don't already have 2 running backs, the way I play usually, I'm looking for one there. So that's where I miss out on a lot of Olave, because maybe I've already taken a receiver or somebody non-running back already. That's just the way I look at it a lot of times, but there's no one right way to play. He's still a great pick at that spot if that's the guy you want. So, and then anyway,
right,
who did you bring
let's
up?
talk Dalvin Cook and then move on.
Okay. Yeah. Dalvin Cook. I have my ranking here. Let's look up Mr. Dalvin. They have him at 73 here. So yeah, this is not probably going to be likely that Dalvin Cook.
Let's do this. Let's say, where does Casey have him, or actually you don't have to leak it if you don't want, but let's maybe even just talk about where do we think his ADP will go to once he signs somewhere.
Exactly. So this RB 27, that means he'd finish 27th out of all running backs, 73rd out of all players. That is, the odds of that happening are very low. It would basically require an injury. If he signs with the worst fit possible in the NFL, he'll still outperform this. He's just that good. And no matter where he goes, they have to pay a certain amount for him. So they're going to force him the ball, even if it's not a good idea. This guy's getting a ton of touches this season. It's going to happen. Mm-hmm. He's going to be better than the 27th running back. Now, I've been drafting him based on like realistic expectations. Most people avoid drafting him at all. So this number is not real. The 73 number, you can't wait till the 8th round to draft Dalvin Cook when draft season comes along. You could do your mock drafts all day and you'll get him there, but don't expect when draft day comes along for that to happen. Where I've been drafting him, because I draft him where I hope I can get him if he goes to a place that's kind of average for him. He's my 59th overall player. And I will say, if he goes somewhere where there's a lack of star power, or somewhere where there's star power that works together well, where they're going to be an incredible offense, I think he can go well before that. I'd be just looking at my list really quickly. I'd be willing to put him as high as like 25, maybe even higher if he went to the perfect place. He's right in that Breece Hall range that we talked about, kind of 3rd round area, if he lands in a great spot. But if he lands in a horrible spot, I'll still take him where I've been taking him at 60.
Mm-hmm.
So back of the 6th round, even earlier in the 6th round, it's going to be a steal. There's probably no way you're going to take him there. I think the real question with Dalvin is if he's on the board and he's there in the 4th or 5th round and he went somewhere kind of meh, are you in on him or not? I'm still probably more in on him than most running backs in that spot. It comes down to, do you need a running back there? If so, I'd take him. If not, and you like some other guys below him, maybe it's time to look somewhere else and just take a flyer on somebody later.
Yeah. Can you pull up those top 10 picks again really quick?
Yeah.
According to Yahoo. All right. So, real quick, one more question here. I'll let and we're going to shift gears to NBA. Also, guys, reminder, one more like on the video gets us a $25 gift card spin.
Let's go.
So
hit the like button.
Question from 3 Walketeers. Jonathan Taylor, or JT, I'm guessing that's who he means. Jonathan Taylor from Indianapolis. Are you willing to take him in the 1st round, or is that too high in your opinion, Casey? Average draft position currently sitting at 6.
Okay, so I'll pull this one right off of my sheet here. I don't feel bad leaking this. Technically, I do have him in my top 10. I don't feel
so
like
so the answer to your question will be yes, you are willing to take him in the 1st round.
I am, but I will say that I've done a lot of mock drafts and I don't really remember taking him. I don't remember an instance where I have, just because there's going to be guys usually available. I mean, unless I'm like pick number 10 or 9 or something like that. Sure. Maybe he's probably gone already by then. Honestly, somebody is into Jonathan Taylor is what happens. Okay. Somebody's willing to take the risk out of a random 10 people. Somebody will take him in the top. What number is he here? 6. Somebody will take him by the 6th pick, probably. If not, I actually have him. He's 7th on my list, but as far as like a target number goes, I don't really want him until number 9. And that's like formulaic. It's based off of, I haven't really had to take him until around there. 9 is where I feel good with him. There's other guys that go after him. I'll throw out a couple. Stephon Diggs, I think, is below him on this list. Yeah, that's a receiver. I am not the guy who talks about taking receivers over stud running backs, but a guy like Travis Kelce, Stephon Diggs, they're below him on this list. I think that's where we're adding Jonathan Taylor into the supreme RB group where, I don't know, it's been hit and miss so far. Through Rocketeer says Bijan over JT. I think that's the real question.
Bijan Mustard Robinson.
That is the real question to ask. And in that scenario, I'll probably go Taylor. Probably.
Rocketeers likes Taylor.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But Bijan is a rookie. A lot of things to be excited about there, but we just haven't seen it yet. And for that reason and that reason alone, basically, we have seen it with Taylor. He has been great. He has been hurt, but he has been great. So I'd buy into the more proven commodity at that point. There's other guys that I think are a better value in there. I mean, where is Josh Jacobs? This is criminal. He's not up that high.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Rushing yards leader last year. So, all right, real quick. So this is an interesting question we might get to, but basketball squad should be coming in here in a second. We're gonna switch gears to NBA. Mike says we're at 12. I see 10, but either way, we've got a $25 gift card. Once we hit 20, we'll do a spin. Mike,
I might just save. I had some more stuff planned for fantasy talk. We're just gonna copy and paste that onto another time. I'm glad we've talked about ADP. We're not gonna go too much more into it now. We'll go back to our other view here. But hey, I'm glad we gave you guys some like basic beginner level like stuff to talk around, and we'll build on that in the next conversations we do.
Yeah, and then real quick, Mike asking, do we hear Sean Payton's comments on Hackett and the Jets? So this is actually one of the things that did cross my radar. Basically, most of what Sean Payton talked about was how much of a mess the Broncos organization was. It was like 80% about like this place is a freaking shit show, basically, which I think was fine. It's a smart move by him because he's doing a couple things. He's kind of saying like, hey, there's a lot to clean up. He's trying to give himself a little grace, like, hey, maybe I don't turn it around as quickly as possible. He's also trying to build some confidence in Russ and bail him out a little bit, saying things like, you know, it's not that he's washed, it's that this whole system was stupid. But to me, the whole thing where he kind of went like he could have just omitted saying anything about Hackett and the Jets. Like that's where he went wrong. I don't think he should have just said it. He should have just kept it focused on the Broncos. I get what he was trying to do. He was really trying to like go scorched earth on Hackett.
We can say that till we're blue in the face. And maybe if this was a guy I just generally was out on, maybe I'd agree with you. But in a world where everything devolves into the housewives of, you know, fill in the city here kind of thing, you know, people love WWE and everything. What's the real harm in throwing a little shade at the guy you replaced at a very competitive position in a super competitive like field? And the fact that he receded into becoming an OC again, you know, it's objectively true that he ran the team poorly.
Yeah.
You know, they did horribly with he wasn't wrong. Assets that
he wasn't
proven.
lying.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know exactly what he said, to be clear either, but like, I mean, he's been tap dancing around it for a while. I will also add that to his case too. When he was hired on, he didn't say anything crazy. I mean, the rubber is meeting the road. Sean Payton is going to be the one answering for the things you see on film now when they show Russell Wilson in training camp, because stuff comes out of training camp. This is where we're going to see the real first version of Russ since Sean Payton took over. And he wants everybody to be reminded that he's had a few months with this guy. And he was at a place that was a proven winning spot in Seattle. Then he went to Denver and his career no longer looked like a Hall of Fame career. Sean Payton wants to remind you that he didn't do that to him. So no matter what he has to do to fix Russ, I think he will. I think Russell Wilson is a buy low candidate right now. But also, that's
so.
I get it.
This hit the wires about 4 hours ago. Sean Payton did say that he regrets the comments. Now he didn't say that he doesn't mean it.
He didn't say he lied.
And I didn't mean it, but he said. I had one of those moments where I still had my Fox hat on and not my coaching hat. He was an analyst for Fox last year.
That's exactly what it is here too.
Yeah. I need a little more filter. I said what I said. obviously I needed a little more restraint and I regret that, which is a really interesting way to say sorry, not sorry.
Which is, but also it's true because that's the way he's been treating it for a couple of months.
And
I think it was strategic.
This is the punch. Yeah, this is the punchy comment is that he said that Hackett produced one of the worst coaching jobs in the history of the NFL, which is that's a kick right to the nuts, you know. Like
it's pretty true though. I mean the
it's
guy's
not wrong.
Head coach again. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's the other thing is that he can't really backtrack what he said because it's like, well, yeah, that's true. He did. Nathaniel Hackett did an objectively job. So
I agree.
Yeah. All right. Let's switch gears to NBA. I mean, we keep saying it every week. We're pretty deep into the off season at this point. So there's not a ton of news, but a couple things happened this week. So we've got some stuff with James Harden, obviously asking for trades out of Philly. That's been going on for a while. T-Mac, Tracy McGrady, commented on it. And then Tracy McGrady actually was on, I think, Pat Bev's podcast. Yeah, he was on the Pat Bev podcast. That he commented on it separately. And then the Pat Bev episode released this week. So we got a lot of T-Mac and James Harden and, just general like Tracy McGrady's views on the league. So first of all, to kind of set it all up, we've got T-Mac in an interview with GQ. So the reason that Tracy McGrady is still relevant, obviously a former player of his caliber that will be relevant can be, but he is also launching 1v1 league, which is interesting. Like that's kind of how Ice Cube has the Power 3. That's a 3v3 league. He's trying to launch a 1v1 thing. Kind of just basically says things like, look, where you would see the real genius of a player like Kyrie would be in something like that, which makes a lot of sense. T-Mac himself probably would have been a better 1v, maybe not a better one. He would be an incredible 1v1 player. So the question.
So explain it to me, John. Is the premise that like a more well-rounded player it serves you well in a 1v1?
No, dude, a 1v1 player is going to be like just a raw, like pure scorer, like, and someone who has got a deep bag can score in a lot of ways, a
lot of different ways. So well-rounded on the offensive side, at least.
Yeah, I mean, look, if it were all NBA players, then they need to be able to defend in ISO. But at the end of the day, if we're talking about the best scorers in the league, the best you can hope for is to maybe slow them down a little bit and make them a little bit inefficient. Size would matter. So someone like Kyrie probably would struggle on defense.
About that. I know I make a lot about height in the NBA discussions, but Tracy McGrady is 6'8".
Yep. Size would matter. I disagree with him that Kyrie would be such a good 1v1 player purely because of that. If we were talking about NBA players, yeah, he's a little small.
I would think like Kobe is like the ideal.
Kobe would be a great 1v1 player. LeBron and MJ would both be great 1v1 players. Sure. Tracy T-Mac would be a really good 1v1 player. Yeah.
Yeah. T-Mac feels like a guy not in that super elite tier. You're saying, well,
he's good. Like, we're gonna get into it. We're gonna get.
Yeah. All right. Let's go.
He talks about that. So GQ asked him as we speak. We're waiting on a potential blockbuster deal. We're waiting on potential blockbuster deals involving Damian Lillard and James Harden, who both made trade demands. We've seen a massive surge of forced trades in recent years. Any thoughts? And Tracy said the evolution of the NBA. You get hit with some shit each and every year. Dame, to me, it was time. But if I'm Portland, I got to do what's best for our franchise as well. I'm not going to give away you, Dame, with you just coming off averaging 32 points. You still got game. I got to get someone back that's all-star caliber. And I don't understand for the life of me what James Harden is doing. What are you trying to get out? And this is like kind of the thing with James Harden. So we got another thing here, and I'll kind of sum this up because this is what people are sort of saying about James Harden. Like, what the hell is this guy doing? And I think Colin, is usually as much as I'm usually like, Colin Coward, but like he goes, this is full bore, like what James Harden's biggest critics are saying, stuff like this. Can you guys hear that?
I did not hear anything. Sorry.
You didn't hear anything? Okay. How about now?
No.
Okay. How do I make it so that there's sound on this?
It's not perfect, but you could pull out your AirPod and point your mic towards the speaker, I suppose.
So,
or we could do our best Colin Cowherd impressions.
the beard, yeah.
My name's Colin Cowherd, and I want to talk about basketball.
I didn't know we. Okay, so here I'm just gonna. I'm just gonna do this. Let's see if it'll work.
I believe in us as a team.
Harden is known for
Yeah.
beard, drawing cheap fouls, and trade requests. That's the James Harden triple-double. James Harden's game to me always felt a little like a tax loophole. No, seriously. He caught the IRS/NBA off guard. Right? Nobody saw it coming, the step back move. Nobody was quite sure it was legal. And then the NBA/IRS mostly eliminated the loophole, and he was never the same.
John, who am I? 3-pointer. Ah!
My eye.
Yeah. Ah! You see that?
His eye. Somebody's always hitting this man in the eye.
I love the leg reaches. Those are fun too.
Yeah. Dame's also a big leg reach guy, but
I mean, but you're right. You're right. Harden's evolution of his drawing fouls is noteworthy. He's got several moves.
That's what everybody says is like he's just kind of like a free throw merchant, but they've eliminated a lot of like the hook thing that he does. Like people can't do that anymore. That's not a foul anymore, but I mean the guy still puts up a double-double, like averages a double-double. So here it's kind of weird because I've always been like kind of a James Harden like
hater.
Yeah.
Well, you mean when he was in the West?
I'm like sort of a James Harden apologist now because I'm like actually think he's got really
because he went to the East, John. Let's not say this is like a supernatural event. Like he moved into the other conference, and you're a big fan now.
Other people started liking him less. I think that made me like him more. But
that's fair. That's fair.
So like even and also the Jazz weren't a contender in the West anymore. Because we play playoff series against him. Anytime you play a playoff series against someone, you end up hating him.
I hate Patrick Mahomes. And simultaneously respect him for being the best NFL player on the planet, probably. Like,
yeah. Well, and that's the same thing. Like you can do that because he's in the other conference. Yeah. So, but like his game, James Harden's game is actually really good. The demanding trades thing is weird, right? Because that's where it's like he's played with Russ, who won an MVP. He's played with Russ twice. He's played with Kevin Durant, who's won an MVP and done so twice. Like, he's played with Chris Paul. He's played with a lot of Hall of Famers. And that's kind of what T-Mac said about him. Like, makes zero sense to me. I look at the teammates he's played with. James has probably played with more Hall of Famers than anybody in the league. And he doesn't have a ring to show for it. I don't know what he's looking for. And maybe there's some internal bullshit that is going on that we don't know about because it doesn't make any sense to me. Leave the MVP. Joel Embiid. Leave the MVP and the Eastern Conference where you have a shot at least to play for a championship. It's got to be something deeper. Get over it. That's what T-Mac said. So kind of brings up the next point, and because there is this like demanding trade thing. So Carrie said this in the chat. Where'd it go? Carrie said NBA gonna reprimand people for demanding trades now. That's the thing. That's what the NBA has created with this player-centric league, right? So the player-centric league gets more viewership, gets more like think about what it was like in the early 2000s, right? When there was a few big star players, but it was otherwise mostly a team-centric league. Like there wasn't as much social media yet. This is the modern NBA. So it's like, there's two edges to that sword. I don't think they can reprimand them for demanding trades. What do you do? Fine them? Like, oh yeah, you can get your trade, but you're going to get fined, like what you can do.
I think there was a time and a place where that might've been viable. But the boat has sailed. The ship has sailed on that one. Like the NBA comes to mind specifically when I think of a player-driven league. Of all the leagues I'm aware of, it feels like by far the most player-driven. And I think that's a reasonable take too.
All right, so here's T-Mac. This isn't gonna work. I have to move it to so I can't talk for a second.
Okay, I will talk instead. I'll go back to that awesome impression I was doing. I'd like to talk about basketball now. Here's Tracy McGrady.
And then I look at Dame's situation. I'm not mad at Dame. I think he has like 3 or 4 years left on his deal. If anybody deserves to, request a trade and they still have that amount of years left on that deal, it's Dame. That man has given 11 solid, great years to Portland. Everything that you can imagine you want from a player. Allow that man to go and pursue a championship while he still has those years. Now, the guys that's just trying to get out just to get out because they don't like their situation or, they don't like a coach, that's bullshit. I ain't with that.
The guys who are trying to get out of their situation. Wonder who he's talking about. I think that's kind of where we're at with Dame. So this is more context here. I'll just pull up the next clip kind of right away. More context here. This is interesting coming from T-Mac because he's one of those like never got over the hump guys. So a lot of the ways that people talk about,
wait, he didn't.
He never won a ring. He was on some good teams. He played in Toronto with Vince Carter. He played in Orlando, I think, with Shaq or Dwight Howard. I can't remember. He played in Houston with Yao Ming. Like he just never got over the hump and won a ring.
Wow.
And who else did he play with? He played in Orlando with Penny Hardaway. So he's
That's
kind of
what I was thinking of for sure.
And the narrative on guys like that is like, oh, they're good players, they're just losers, right? Like they just can't win, or can't win at all. And so like that's why this is all interesting coming from T-Mac, because he is that same sort of guy, like he is that guy that now gets to demand a trade. In his day, you didn't really get to demand a trade. So,
well, can I just say, like, I think he calls out Dame. I agree with him for the wrong reason, kind of thing. I think Dame serves as a like honorable trade request, but not just because of like the career stuff. I agree with him. Actually, I'm basically fully agreeing with him. But what I like the most about Dame is that he didn't rush to demand the trade. I think that's what it is. Is like people can appreciate the legitimate, like, hey, I think it would be best for all parties if I'm just out of town. It's got to be hard to say. And I think somebody who makes it seem hard to say, even if it isn't, is at least reading the room well. When somebody is rushing to say, get me the hell out of here, that is always going to look sour on the player. Hopefully they should. And it's probably going to reflect poorly on the organization, even if the organization isn't at fault, in my opinion.
The other big difference is that James Harden has burned down contenders to do this. Brooklyn, most likely a contender. When he was in Houston with Chris Paul, a contender, and then they got rid of Chris Paul. When he is right now on one of 5 or 6 teams in the league that's like one of the legitimate contenders. Not the top contender, but he's not even talking about going to like, he's not even talking about going to Denver or going to Miami. He's talking about going back to freaking Houston, basically just saying like, I'm just going to get my money and I don't, they're not paying me. So yeah, I mean, I think that's the other big thing is that Dame, every time they've been a contender, has been completely content to be there. Now they're not a contender. And he's like, all right, like I would like to win a ring while I still have some years to do so. Hey, before we get into this next T-Mac clip, just a quick reminder, there are 12 likes on the YouTube video right now. So once we get to 20, we will do a wheel spin for a giveaway. So like the video, and then the way that you get in on the giveaway, we're going to do one already. So you can just do this. The way you get in on the giveaway is in our private community, PlayBack, playback.tv/triplecross. There is a link in the description as well. So here we go. Next clip.
If I had won a championship, I think my legacy would be a lot up. I think it would be different. I don't know how much of a difference because I'm internationally known. I'm globally known. I sell shoes on a global level. I have a brand on a global level. But I think winning a championship probably would have elevated me in the conversation to some of the guys that have won that championship. Right. In terms of being in class. Talent level, I'm in the class regardless. I don't care what anybody says that on a talent level. But I think from a career, perspective, I think I would have been in some of those conversations. And I think that elevates your career and your brand as well for winning the championship, depending on who you are as that player, though.
So this is interesting because I think to me the most interesting part is that he said talent-wise, I'm on that level. What level is he talking about? Like, I actually agree. T-Mac, if he's in the right vein, he is on that level talent wise. But if he's talking about the MJ, Kobe, LeBron tier, nah.
Well, okay. Can I just say, first of all,
Curry, if he's talking about the Steph Curry tier, actually, Steph Curry's probably in that MJ, Kobe, LeBron tier. He's like not there, but it's like MJ, Kobe, LeBron, Steph, Kareem, and Wilt, right? So like, and Bill Russell maybe. So if he's talking about like the Shaq tier, then I think that is where he is in terms of talent. Those are two very different players, but who's that in that tier? We're talking about like Shaq, Scottie, Pippen,
Barkley.
Yeah, Barkley.
Hakeem Olajuwon.
Hakeem. Like that is right. I actually think T-Mac was that good. Maybe I'm hotter on T-Mac than other people. Maybe I liked him just because I liked his style of play.
Different era.
That is the tier I think that he belongs on. So, and those, he doesn't get brought up there for sure. Like, I think he is there talent wise, but a championship is definitely part of it. Like he is right.
Yeah. I think the way he got into the topic was coming off of the shoe deals. I believe he went, I sell shoes on a national or on an international level, like these guys. So it's implied, right? Like, who else has shoe lines? I mean, it's that first tier you are talking about. And first of all, I want to say you're acting like you're surprised by it, and maybe you are legitimately surprised by it. I'm not surprised at all. This feels like the most basketball player shit I've ever heard in my life. Where, you know what I mean? Like, point to an NBA player who won't say they think they're the greatest of all time to me. Like, and maybe that's not the case, but that feels like more prolific in basketball than other sports. Maybe it's because it's more positionless and everybody has a little bit. No long snapper thinks they're the best player in the NFL.
So
you know what I mean?
Scorers like T-Mac specifically, like you don't become a scorer without that kind of mentality. Like you don't become a guy who can put up 60 points in an NBA game without that kind of mentality. So yeah, you're not wrong, right? Like you've got to have that kind of mentality to be like, you need a bucket, I can get you a bucket. I don't care who's out there. And so
you don't need a bucket. Guess what? I'm still gonna get buckets.
I'm gonna get you one anyway.
That's all I do over here is get buckets. Like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So here, I think he does actually give us maybe a nod to who he's talking about in terms of like, I'm on that tier, I'm on that talent level. So in this clip,
in today's society, you get defined by winning championships, whereas everybody is not lucky enough to be in those situations. You look at, some of the greats that have come through this game, and I'm not saying Magic Johnson was lucky, but Magic Johnson played with a lot of freaking Hall of Famers. I'm not saying Larry Bird is lucky. He played with a lot of Hall of Famers, right? Jordan wasn't so lucky of playing with a lot of Hall of Famers. He just had a great sidekick in Scottie Pippen. But if you look at Jordan before Scottie Pippen became Scottie Pippen, Jordan was just a great individual player. Like, Jordan wasn't getting out of the first round or going deep into the playoffs before Scottie Pippen became Scottie Pippen. So you have to have talent to win championships, and everybody is just not blessed to play with a championship organization that's willing to put that type of talent around you to go for a championship. And today,
so one more clip on the back of this, and then we'll unpack this really quick. So just give me one second.
I just want to say, I think that,
I think he's telling us who he's talking about. He said Larry Bird, not saying he was lucky, but Magic Johnson. I think that means when he says talent. That is where
he's talking about basketball royalty. Forget breaks in the tiers of talent. He's talking about the untouchables. You can't really talk bad about Larry Bird. There is no really, like, people do this every once in a while where they try to attack one of these people.
They talk bad about Larry Bird all the time.
No, exactly, but like it doesn't really stick. It almost makes his legacy stronger. You know what I mean? Same thing if you try to do with MJ. It happened somewhat in the MJ LeBron debates that used to happen all the time, which somewhat still happen, I guess. But people would try to like talk down about Jordan. You're like, that's not the way to win the debate. Like, it's just never gonna work. Yeah. There's a bunch of names like that, and that's what he's talking about here.
Felix is asking, haven't heard T-Mac a lot. Is he usually spitting facts? So, yeah, T-Mac has a pretty good basketball brain, but like, he is that, like, T-Mac in a different career trajectory could have been Magic Johnson. He could have been Larry Bird. I don't know if I would say he could have been Kobe. I don't know if he's that good, but like maybe in the right trajectory could have won 5 rings or something. Like that's how good T-Mac is. So anyone that good, he's spitting facts as much as anyone that good can, right? Anyone that good has definitely undeniable belief in themselves. So anytime he's talking about himself, you have to understand that. So what I like where I'm at with that is like Magic, Larry, I actually think that is where T-Mac is in terms of talent. But then when he says like, you know, Mike wasn't making it past the second round, you know, before he got Scotty, like, all right, buddy, you played with Vince Carter. He's as good as Scottie Pippen or better. You played with Penny Hardaway. He's as good as Scottie Pippen or better. You played with Yao Ming. In that era of basketball, he was as valuable as Scottie Pippen or better. So, yeah, I don't put yourself on the level of Mike. I'm not saying he is, but I definitely don't think he should be. If he is,
I agree with that. Don't put yourself on the same level as Mike, but also I think Tracy McGrady and I could be great friends. I like his general demeanor and everything. I agree with Felix. He is spitting some facts right now. Like I appreciate it from him.
He spits facts from a very self-confident place. I'll put it
as soon as he's not talking about himself, I'm like, I think I agree with most of what you're saying. Yeah. Way more than most people.
So this is a good one that I think you'll like as well, because he said if you're lucky enough to play in an organization that actually wants to win a championship, that's how he closed the last clip. So here's the next clip.
Every organization is not trying to win a championship in the NBA.
That's facts, Ron. What do you mean? What are they trying to do? Just break even, make money?
Of course. For some of these owners, the NBA might just be a hobby gig for them. You know what I'm saying? Like this is say they own an NBA team. It's just a hobby gig for them. They made their money somewhere else. But hey, let me go purchase an NBA team and be an NBA owner. Like, bro, if you look at some of the teams that have not even competed or made the playoffs in 15 to 20 years, you trying to tell me they're trying to win a championship? But they need to fire everybody in their office.
And there's some teams that have an owner that owns a hockey team and also owns a football team. It's not going to be all one concerted effort to have all like everybody can't win, but so they're probably trying to diversify their portfolio, have a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's frustrating as a fan too.
So yeah, this one is interesting because that is pretty true. Not everybody in the league is trying to win a championship. I think T-Mac's trying to hint at that he feels like he was part of a lot of organizations that were not trying to win a championship. And one of the main differences between him and a guy like Magic, a guy like Larry Bird, is that they were on organizations that were trying to win championships. And maybe even Michael Jordan, you could definitely say he was. But in a sense, I don't think Michael Jordan was I don't think he was in an organization that was trying to win a championship until they realized, oh, we've got Michael Jordan. Like until they realized who Michael Jordan was, I don't necessarily think the Bulls were. I think they were trying to make money. They weren't necessarily trying to win championships. The Lakers with Magic, that was all designed for that. You know, like they were trying to win. They already had Kareem. Like they drafted him. That's what they were trying to do. But I don't know if I'm pretty much with T-Mac on this one. Like it is frustrating as a fan, and I'm pretty much with Roan too. You know, it is frustrating as a fan that like not everyone's trying to win a championship. Irony though is that how Roan was kind of talking about how some owners own like multiple franchises. They own a hockey team, they own baseball. This year's NBA champions, the Denver Nuggets, their owner is one of those guys. He owns multiple sports teams, I think, in the Denver area. So
and you could have made a case about that owner that they weren't being serious about winning.
They weren't. It seems like they weren't really, right? Like the Denver Nuggets are probably one of the few championship teams in the last 20 or 30 years that probably make money because they don't really go crazy over the salary cap or anything. They just happen to draft Jokic and Jamal Murray. They drafted insanely well. Jokic is the highest value draft pick of all time at 41. Like there was a freaking Taco Bell commercial going on when the Nuggets drafted him. Nobody even knew that he got drafted. It was a quesarita. There was a quesarita. Quesarito. Yeah. Quesarito.
I like the quesarito. You went real Midwest on it for a second there.
Well, I didn't know it was
quesarita.
It's a masculine food, John. I didn't know it was masculine. But yeah, like he's maybe the highest value draft pick of all time. So yeah, you could say the Nuggets owner is actually one of those owners that they're talking about. Sometimes they stumble into it, right? Like I think that's more what the situation was with Jordan. It was like they realized, oh my gosh, we've got a generational player. Like we don't need much to win a championship.
No, I agree completely.
And that's a tier of talent that's different. Like that's a tier of talent that only Jordan, LeBron, Jokic, a couple guys. Yeah, Kobe.
Yeah, even LeBron. I don't think you can add LeBron to that. No disrespect. Well, talent, yes, but but he didn't.
Cleveland
LeBron
made
came
the final.
in with different expectations, and then just maybe even exceeded those expectations. But he came in supposed to change the NBA. You know what I mean? And he did. But
Cleveland drafted him, and I think, that's exactly what he did. He took a team that wasn't really trying to win a championship at all to the finals. They didn't win, but they were legitimately, like, we've talked about some guys who did it on their own. Like, there's not a lot of guys. Dirk kind of did it on his own with light support from like Jason Terry. You could say Jokic kind of did it on his own. We'll see what history says about Jamal Murray, but you could say Jokic kind of did it on his own with some support from Jamal Murray. That's kind of what Dirk's looked like. At the time, some of these guys looked really good. Like they were great supporting players. But history says that Dirk did it on his own, right? We'll see what it says about Jokic, but that was LeBron. But LeBron played with actual scrubs who weren't helping him at all. It wasn't like history might say Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon and Bruce Brown are, it was Jokic on his own with a bunch of role players. That's not what LeBron was working with in 2007. He was working with actual scrubs. So yeah, he's one of those players as well. That was a little tangent,
so when it comes to Tracy McGrady, again, I agree with 90% of what he was saying, and the only 10% I disagree with is when he's talking about himself. I think he's a great player. I would use the word great, like a Larry Bird, like a Magic Johnson on your point. But this term I use more on our marketing podcast, a little plug for Modern Commerce. But there's this thing about being undeniably valuable. Now, McGrady is undeniably valuable, but he's not undeniably legendary. You know, he's not. If one thing would have happened for T-Mac, then he would have found himself on a contender one way or another. Right? Like, and that one thing is becoming legendary, becoming not just great, but that next level, truly beyond elite. If he would have played great, he either would have been able to, even back when it wasn't so much a players league, like a franchise that wanted to win would have grabbed him. They would have made,
or they would have built around him. Toronto would have built around him.
I
mean, they had T-Mac and Vince Carter, boom, in adjacent draft years, like, you know. So that, I mean, at that time where a team becomes a dynasty, that's it. You know,
that hits different now than I think in that era too. In that era, like those guys were built for that too, right? Like, I don't know. Is Vince Carter's game, does it age perfectly with the NBA? No, I don't think so. You know what I mean? I think I don't know. I
mean, he played till he was like freaking 42. So I think he aged his game.
So that's what I mean.
He aged his game well. T-Mac, though, for sure. You have to remember, though, that T-Mac, when he was a rookie, he was still only like 6'3" or something like that, 6'4". Like, he grew a lot.
True?
He was 18-year-old. Yeah, he grew.
I did not know that.
He grew 3 or 4 inches after entering the league.
Wait, what draft pick even was he? Was he super on everybody's mind?
He was a first rounder for sure, but I don't remember.
Sure, but that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
I'm going to look it up. Keep going.
Yeah, somebody knows. Let me know in the chat. But
it was pick number 9. So kind of
top 10 pick.
High value, but there's a lot of top 10 picks that don't become much, right? I mean,
he's outperformed a lot of top 10 picks, probably more than half of them.
Absolutely. But like, if you people do this, like redrafting the draft class thing. If you redrafted that draft class, I'm not looking at who else got drafted, but I imagine he would be about number 9, maybe a little bit higher.
No,
maybe a little bit higher.
He'd be way higher, I bet. What draft class?
Vince Carter was in there. Oh no. Sorry.
No, he's in the next year. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
What draft class?
Yeah, that's why okay. I got a little Google people also search for, and I was just attributing those names. They are not from the same draft class. So yeah, no. I concede my statement. He probably goes a lot higher.
Let's do a 1997
redraft of the top 10.
Let's do an impromptu redraft.
Impromptu 97, great year. John and I were 7 years old.
7 years
Why
old.
not?
We were very involved at the time.
I might even know a few of these guys from the top 10.
Say,
You never
okay,
know.
Tim Duncan, first overall, stays there. Keith Van Horn, good
Hey,
player.
hold on, real quick before we go too far.
Yeah.
That's already kind of a bum deal for McGrady, right? Maybe he even is one of the top guy, like the top guy in a certain draft class, but like Tim Duncan, like, yeah, nobody argues T-Mac over Tim Duncan, right?
No. Tim Duncan is actually
enough.
one of the most underrated, I think, on most people's like all-time lists. All right, so I'll just read the top 10.
Which,
Tim
how can
Duncan,
that even be? Isn't that just like what his actual rating is then?
It's just because it's because he's very understated, you know. Like it,
I agree with that.
People forget to even put him on the list. Oh yeah, Tim Duncan, he belongs somewhere higher. Yeah.
Holy shit! And then Tracy McGrady is next, but let's keep going through this.
Yeah. So Tim Duncan, Keith Van Horn, good player. Chauncey Billups, former All-Star, former NBA champion. Antonio Daniels, Tony Battle, Ron Mercer, Tim Thomas, Donald Foyle, Tracy McGrady, Danny Fortson. So if we're looking at the top 10 picks there, Tracy McGrady belongs second. Maybe somebody could argue Chauncey Billups is higher than T-Mac, but if they did, I think they would be wrong. So I think it should go Tim Duncan, Tracy McGrady, Chauncey Billups, Keith Van Horn as the top 4. And then I'm trying to look at deeper picks that might have been.
Wait, did you say
breakout.
Tony Batty? Is that even how you say that?
Tony Batty? Yeah, I did say him.
Okay.
But he's not one of the top 4, not one of the top 5.
He was 5th. He was 5th in the actual draft.
Right.
And I think he belongs there. Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, after Keith Van Horn, I think it pretty much becomes like whatever. At least as far as I know. I mean, maybe I just don't know these players very well. So I'm looking a little bit deeper for a breakout player. So we got one breakout player in Mark Jackson, but he definitely doesn't belong ahead of Tracy McGrady.
I mean, Tracy McGrady is the breakout player really here, right? Like,
it's hard to call a 9 pick a breakout, but yeah, I hear you. Like, there's no late first rounders who are breakouts. Mark Jackson was definitely outperformed his draft position, but yeah, and there's no second rounders that were really breakouts here. So,
and Villanova must have had a hell of a year before this because they're all over this board. I think there's 4 Villanova guys in the top 50.
There's a lot of years like that. I mean, Jalen Brunson went to Villanova, Josh Hart went to Villanova. Like, that's still the case with Villanova.
That's pretty nuts, man. But yeah, I would say Tracy McGrady. Sure, yes, it's hard to say a top 10 pick has to even break out, but like, still, I think compared to like a 9 is a 9. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, he's the second best player from that draft class. I don't care what you say about Chauncey Billups. T-Mac's the second best player from that draft class.
I think he's got to be. I think he's got to be.
He's not, and him and Chauncey, it's not close with how Chauncey won a ring. Chauncey's a good player. He's no T-Mac. T-Mac is at that level talent-wise where he could have been a 4 or 5-time champion and a key player on a 4 or 5-time champion team.
There's a clear 3 in this draft class, and it's those 3, and that's the order. There's no other way to say it. Like, just none. Nice impromptu redraft. Like, that was faster than I thought it would be.
Yeah. I didn't want to do like a long redraft.
It's great. If you ask me how many players' names do I recognize from the first round of this, it's scary. It's like 6.
Yeah. That's
7, maybe if I'm squinting.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty good. That's probably more than like a lot of years, honestly.
Oh, wait. Is that Tony? Is Anthony Parker Tony Parker?
Ooh, did he go to the Spurs?
NJN, New Jersey Nets.
So no.
Is that who this is though?
No,
he got drafted to the Spurs.
Yes.
Man, hey, see, I grabbed another name out of there. Tony Parker would have been
Anthony Michael Parker. Here, right? And he's
random trivia.
Yeah, Anthony Parker. Yeah.
Don't search it. Don't search it. But what year did he get drafted? Random. Tony Parker.
I don't know.
This is the question. It's trivia question of the day.
Oh, what year did Tony Parker get drafted?
Because I thought it was
drafted.
What year was? Yes, I think so. Yes, he did. He did.
What year was his rookie year?
He was a first rounder too. He actually might have been the same pick. Holy cow. Real close. Okay. He was maybe the last pick, 28th.
Okay, I think he got drafted in like, if I had to guess, probably 90. I'll go the year after this. So I know it's not 97, and that's actually what I would guess. So I'll go 98.
I think he gave off like old man vibes a little bit in his game. Maybe he went in 01. So
yeah, I knew it was somewhere in that 98 to 02 zone.
Right. Anyway, just shout out to anybody. If you're out there
I wasn't
listening
sure
and your
if
name
he
is
was
Tony
there
Parker
for that first round
or
of, like,
Anthony Parker.
Yeah. I wasn't
Good
sure
job.
if he was there for that first round of like David Robinson and like during that, you know, David Robinson and Tim Duncan
And
championship.
he was, right? Like
I think that happened in 99. I think they won one in 99 or something like that. Maybe before Tony Parker got there. I'm just off the cuff at this point. So
did Robinson retire after that though? You're not asking did he play with. That makes sense. Yeah, they didn't. He wasn't there when they won, but he was there with David Robinson though.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
For
hey, nice little
period.
Tony Parker rabbit hole.
A little bit of crossover, yeah. And then Manu Ginobili would have come a year or two after that, I bet. Okay, so we got some decisions here. How soon do you want to wrap up here, Casey? I got like one more or maybe two more things.
I mean, hit him. This is your baby. This is the NBA. I'm having fun.
Right. So another pod that happened lately, like again, just talking off season content. So a lot of I like to just like listen to the pods that the players are on and then like break that stuff down. So Trey Young was on Draymond's podcast, and Draymond Green's podcast, talked about the Trey Young Luka comparison that a lot of people do because they were a draft day trade. I don't know if you knew that, Casey. They were like picks 3 and 5 and they were draft day trade. So there was a world where Luka's with the Hawks and Trey Young's with the Mavericks.
Wow.
So yeah, looking at that, like here's what Trey Young had to say about it. We can break it down. Oh, there we go.
You two are always compared because of the draft day trade. And so everybody's always comparing you two guys. Where is he in his career? Where is he? And the reality is when you take a step back, you're very close in points. I think you probably lead in assists.
Yeah, I'm for sure.
Like,
for sure.
But the narrative out there isn't the same. Talk to me about that and just living that.
I mean, it's to be honest with you, I don't even stress over it no more. Like I know the real ones get it for real. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like for me, once I win a championship, it'll even open up more eyes to what I've really done and especially to some of my peers that I'm compared with and compared to.
Okay. Cutting it short. Take the microphone from this man. Oh, okay. Never mind. John's holding up a finger. For those just listening, just another clip. And here it is.
So, to be honest with you, I have no hate towards nobody, especially Luka. Me and him we talk all the time. Like, we got a lot of love for each other, a lot of respect for each other. But, I mean, I do agree with you. It's different agendas and the way people look at certain people is different. But, to be honest, I don't get caught up into it. I feel like eventually people are going to understand what it is and, like, realize that it's not that far off. Obviously, he's a really good player, hell of a player, but it's like we kind of do the same things. He's 6'8", I'm 6'2", 6'3". Like we're different in size, but I mean he can play. Like I can play. You know what I'm saying? We can both hoop. So at the same time, that's just what it is.
Sorry, little notification there.
Little notey for y'all.
Little notey.
Not enough.
Yeah. So
can I jump in? Can I jump in real quick with just some black and white stuff here? So we have trade details here. For those who did not know about this trade, like me, self-declared NBA casual fan, but Luka Doncic traded from Atlanta to the Mavericks for Trey Young and a 2019 first-round pick. And I know to NFL fans, that's not exactly the same value on a first-round pick, but it's not nothing, right? Like it wasn't a 1-for-1 trade.
Right.
Like a first rounder being attached means something. It means, yeah, we know this is the better guy. So that at least makes the trade more like swallowable. Again, if the Hawks were to do it again, would they? I don't know. I don't think so. But that's how I feel about it. I think they got it more or less right.
Trey Young in a first round is maybe worth a Luka. Probably not in hindsight, but like maybe.
Right,
closer,
exactly.
Yeah,
At the time, you didn't know Luka was going to be quite as good as Luka is. Probably.
Well, yeah, he's the top 6 player in the league. You know what I mean? Like,
do you even need to go to 6? That feels like a stretch.
Yeah, I mean,
who are 5 players better?
Steph,
better today.
You got Steph, Giannis, Jokic.
Agreed. Are you gonna say Embiid?
Embiid, maybe.
Yeah, I actually don't know if I would go there, but maybe. Yeah, okay.
I mean,
Embiid.
and then we can get into opinion. I think Dame's probably better, but that one's close,
Ooh,
right?
Yeah, I think I'd go Luka there. Honestly, especially like career, like Luka's still younger, like
yeah, but I mean, I said top 6 because we were like scooting by. Like nobody's gonna argue he's top 6,
Well, it's just a weird number to throw out when you could say top 5, and I would have agreed with top 5.
Yeah, I mean,
so I was like, oh, you have 5 ahead of him.
And Tatum would be another one. So it'd be like Steph,
sure.
Giannis, Jokic.
I don't think I would go with
Steph,
Tatum
Giannis,
either.
Jokic, Embiid, Tatum, Luka is probably what most people would say.
I don't actually think I agree.
They
with
would have
Embiid
that
or
tier
Tatum
together.
There.
I didn't say top 6 according to Casey. I just said like
shots fired.
I just said like top 6. Nobody's probably going to argue that he's top 6.
What is it according to John?
If you want to throw Dame in there,
not according to what you think people think. Where does Luka belong in John's world?
Top 5 for sure. I mean, I'd probably go
respect.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably go Steph. I'd probably go like Giannis. Or Jokic is the best player in the league, I think. Giannis, Steph for sure, all ahead of Luka, and then Dame and Luka are probably right there to me.
Nice.
Dame, Luka, Tatum are all right there, honestly. So like,
yeah, I got you. That rounds out to over 5th. I get it. I like it. It.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think Trey Young is same kind of thing though. Like he's a scorer. Same thing as T-Mac. It's not like he can have this mentality of like
T-Mac, sure.
Yeah, I'm not saying Trey's as good as T-Mac. He's not.
Florida team. I see it.
I do not think he's as good as T-Mac, but you can't do what Trey Young does with a mentality that's like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm pretty good. I mean, Luka, that guy's really good. He's way better than me. But
you also just can't win a championship on the backs of these guys. Like,
yeah. Trey is T-Mac while Luka is like Jordan. That's like probably the right comparison, right? Luka is none of them are like Jordan, but like the relative.
Kobe. You replace Jordan with Kobe in that, and I agree.
No, it's the relativity. Neither of them. Trey is not as good as T-Mac. Luka is not as good as Jordan, but like the relative distance between the two of them is the same as Jordan and T-Mac.
No, I still got a bigger gap between Jordan and Luka. No disrespect to Luka.
I'm not talking about Jordan and Luka, Jordan and T-Mac. The relative distance between Jordan and T-Mac is the same as the relative distance between Luka and Trey.
Okay, that way. Okay, close. Yeah, close. Jordan still feels like a high point, but okay.
Yeah, I think Luka's significantly better than Trey for sure. I don't know if Trey's even in like the top 20 players in the league.
Yeah, I thought you were saying Trey is to McGrady as Luka is to Jordan, and that didn't sit right.
Yeah, only if you're like talking about relative distance between them, I think. But
yeah, I still like it better with Kobe either way, I think. But
Kobe isn't as much better than T-Mac as Luka is than Trey.
Do you subscribe to the idea that basically
I would put it this way. I don't think Kobe is that much better than T-Mac. I think Kobe worked a ton harder and that like gave him a little gap over time, but they're from a similar era. And I actually think there were like years where T-Mac was a better player than Kobe.
Whoa. I mean, maybe, yeah, sure. But definitely doesn't feel like it's remembered that way either.
No, I mean, look,
real quick question
exactly
aside.
Yeah.
Do you basically hold Jordan and LeBron to a whole separate tier all their own?
I think that, yeah, maybe. I think Jordan, LeBron, I think I would put maybe like Kareem in that tier. I will probably put Wilt in that tier, but that's just me. Most people wouldn't.
That's you being protective of Wilt. I get it.
Yeah, well,
it's not that it doesn't make sense.
I think Wilt was a freak. I think he was like, I think he'd be a freak in any era of the league. And statistically, he's the asterisk, right? So it's hard not to. I think like when people just say like, oh no, he doesn't belong there because he's old and I don't remember that, like that's stupid. So
how would Wilt have done in a one-on-one tournament?
Probably well, but it depends on how well he could dribble,
Like, who cares? He's going to block every shot you put up. He's going to rebound anything you miss. And how are you going to stop him? How are you going to stop him?
Will or Bill Russell probably he would be all right, but like Shaq or like I don't know how well they would do one-on-one.
Here's the matchup. Just as a litmus test.
I think Wilt might win a one-on-one tournament, assuming he can dribble at least a little bit.
Wilt versus
he's not going to make anything.
Yeah. Wilt versus Giannis one-on-one.
Yeah, Wilt is a more athletic version of Giannis.
Whoa! Doesn't that sound insane? Like we already
like
called him the freak.
It's not close. It's not close.
I
Anyone
know.
who's like, no, Giannis is crazy athletic. No, Wilt is way more athletic. There's measurables on this. Wilt ran track in college. There's measurables on his athleticism, how far he can jump, how high he can jump, how fast he can run, how far he could throw the shot put, how much he can bench. It's not close. Giannis can't do any of those things. So, yeah, he's a more athletic version of Giannis. Giannis is probably a touch more skilled. Like, I don't think Wilt could hit a 3-pointer. Like, maybe he has a few. I don't know. But Giannis can shoot from you can't leave him open.
That's like the one matchup of all time in a one-on-one matchup where Giannis is taking like outside shots.
Yeah, Giannis would lose the athleticism battle against Wilt. Yeah. Giannis is the most athletic player probably in the league right now, or Shaden Sharp.
Throw it in the 2K simulator. I want to see that matchup. That sounds like a banger.
Yeah, I think they're like a 97 overall and 99 overall.
I was trying to think who's the best, who's the most representative of Wilt's game in the NBA today. It's
got to be close. It's Giannis, probably.
Yeah.
A lot of people say Giannis is the best player in the league. Now imagine, and also Wilt is bigger. Wilt is like 7 feet, 7'1", with huge reach. And like, think about how high Giannis jumps. Wilt jumps like, his vertical is like 6 or 7 inches higher than Giannis, maybe 5 inches higher than Giannis at 7'1" with like he's crazy long. So like
he could dunk if the basket were on the top of the backboard.
Yeah, he could jump up to the top of the backboard. Like
that's freakish. Like that.
No, Wilt's a freak.
Word gets overused.
People don't get it. He was a freak. People say like,
oh yeah, it's because
Greece. They say that it's because he played in this era where people weren't as good and weren't as athletic. And I'm like, yeah, he made him look that way for sure. Like. They definitely look less athletic when they're playing against that dude. But yeah, no. Anyway, that was a little Wilt tangent, but
wait, was Wolf okay? Last matchup. I said Wolf. That's not what I meant.
Wolf.
Is Wilt 1-on-1 versus the GOAT, Dolph Shays.
I mean, you got to go Dolph. There's nobody can beat Dolph.
All day Dolph, baby.
All day Dolph Shays. Let's go.
Let's go.
All right, we got one more thing here. This one's kind of funny, and then we can get to our giveaway. A reminder, everybody, every 10 likes on the video, we are doing $25 gift card giveaways. We're at 13 now. I don't know if we're going to hit 20 today, but if we hit 20, we're going to do 2 giveaways. That happens on our community private stream. So playback.tv/triplecross. You can hit the link in the description for that. I am watching the chat over there, guys. So if you chat in there, Jay just hopped in there and said he's here for the giveaway. So that's good.
Let's go, Jay.
Let's go, Jay. Here for the giveaway. Lots of rhymes just presenting themselves to us today.
Dolph Shays, by the way, 4th overall pick in 1948. Fun fact.
I mean, he's first overall.
In the BAA
he's first
draft.
overall best player of all time. So
the BAA draft. So
yeah,
keep that in mind.
The BAA or the ABA.
It says BAA on basketball.
That's one I don't even know. Basketball Association of America, maybe? I don't know.
That sounds made up like from Dodgeball Underdog Story.
Yeah, well, it was the ABA was the American Basketball Association.
The American Basketball Association of America.
All right, we got KD in an interview here, and let's listen to it.
Let's go.
You also, by the way, invested in a number of cannabis companies. Yeah. And I'm so curious about your decision to be public about that, and what I assume, does Adam Silver call you up and say?
No, I actually called him and advocated for him to take marijuana off the banned substance list. I just felt like it was becoming a thing around the country, around the world. That it was the stigma behind it wasn't as negative as it was before. It doesn't affect you in any negative way. So I just felt like it was.
And what did Adam tell you when you said this to him?
He agreed, and you see where we're.
Well, now they've actually told players you can invest and you can smoke and everything else. I think.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, definitely. Marijuana is.
But you were a pioneer, if you will.
I wouldn't call myself a pioneer. Not at all. But
a public pioneer. How about that?
I wouldn't say that either. But. I just enjoy the plant. I mean, as simple as that. And
so what did you tell Adam? How did you persuade him?
Well, he smelled it when I walked in. So I didn't really have to say much. You know what I'm saying? He kind of understood where this was going. And then, I mean, it's the NBA, man. Everybody is like, everybody does it, to be honest. It's like wine at this point.
I mean, he smelt it, so I didn't have to say much. I don't know. I don't really have much to say to it. It was just funny. I thought anything.
It is funny. I mean, is that news to you that NBA players smoke weed?
No. I think it's common with NFL. I think it's common with a lot of sports, a lot of athletes.
Well, I think it's more common in the NBA because, I mean, on the backs of players like KD that got it off the banned substances list. As far as I know, it's still
He's
on
not a
that
pioneer.
list.
He's not a pioneer, though. Not even a public pioneer.
Don't even think about calling him a pioneer. He will outright deny it. He's like, I'm not about that. I'm not like an activist. I just
like plant.
I enjoy the plant.
I enjoy the plant. All right.
What a quotable quote.
Just heads up, guys. We're a few likes away from 20 likes. If we get to 20 likes, we will do 2 $25 gift card giveaways. Right now, we're going to do one $25 gift card giveaway on our private community. There's a link in the description. Sorry, I keep saying it because different new people come in. I don't know if I have to apologize for that, but I do wonder if people who listen all the time get it. So,
one thing we got going on in PlayBack
in the PlayBack chat here. We got who is better. Here, let's see if I can pull this out. Actually,
I would love that.
I can pop out the chat. Let's see. We'll share this.
I'm gonna look up some stats too.
Do it. All right, we got.
Tell me what to do.
Who is better? Let's see if I can get a zoom on this. Maybe. Yeah. So who's better, Manute Bowl or Bull Bowl? The battle of the bulls. Mike says Boy is better.
The Super Bowl?
Super Bowl. Bull already having more points, Felix said, and then he put in parentheses on pace. And then Casey, of course, calling out Bull, the sushi of the NBA. That has already been established. That Bull is 100%. The sushi of the NBA from our segment Foods of the League. First ever Foods of the League candidate.
It's true. It was a surprise Foods of the League.
Let me see if this sways you. Yeah, I'm gonna ask the chat because Casey's gonna get some stats here. But here's a fun fact I learned about Bull. I will tell you the story of it. So the Vegas odds or the FanDuel odds for Defensive Player of the Year just barely dropped. Jaren Jackson is the favorite to repeat. However, Victor Wembanyama is kind of right around players like Joel Embiid. So Victor Wembanyama, relatively for a rookie, relatively high on the odds for Defensive Player of the Year. There has never been a rookie who has won Defensive Player of the Year, but the closest rookie to ever winning Defensive Player of the Year is Manute Bol, who finished second overall for Defensive Player of the Year. Tim Duncan finished fourth. So, fun fact about Manute Bol, he was second overall as a rookie in Defensive Player of the Year votes. I don't know if that sways you, Manute Bol versus Bol, but yeah, I don't know. What do y'all think, chat? I'm leaning Manute on this, but I do like defensive players. I do think that he did win some depoys. Bol is kind of like, he's the sushi. Like sushi. He's like sushi. You like it sometimes, but like you don't want it every day. You know what I mean? Manute Bol, I'll take him every day. He's more like I don't know, just like he's like a solid side dish, like French fries or something like that, you know?
Bro, Manute Bol did win a ton of categories per season that he played.
Yeah.
But especially in if they played one-on-one against each other, which is
Manute Bol was not a scorer. That is for sure.
That is for sure. But he was first in blocks per game a few different seasons. He was.
I mean, he's the tallest. Isn't he still the tallest player who's ever played?
He was in the top 20 in block. Yeah, he second highest, second tallest. I know that from one of our other segments. Block percentage. I mean, a lot of blocks. Blocks were the outliers.
It was a different era then. People took more shots closer to the basket, but he played
a ton of games. He played 82 games a few times.
Yeah,
that's pretty nuts for a guy who's 7'7". Yeah. I mean, you would think he has some bad knees, things like that. He played every game. Something. I mean, and let's be honest, he did have bad knees, a bad back, something, and he played anyway. There's something to that, and for sure that's going to hurt your average game. I feel like the NBA today represents player averages in a much more flattering light. You know, the amount of minutes they get, the way they're managed, the way that they're even managed on a game-to-game basis. Hey, or take a day off. You need it. Like if you're looking at the way that average stats have become the only stats that really matter, I don't know if that was always the case. I mean, was there ever a point where basketball people cared more about the actual volume of stats? Like this person has scored this many points this season, not per game.
Season total. Yeah, no. I don't know. I don't think so. I think that only
fan,
starts mattering. That matters on all-time lists. You know what I mean?
Like I think it matters on a yearly list too, man. You can't have people sitting out half the season.
I'm talking about to the NBA, not Casey's opinions. I'm saying like I think that most of the players care about it in terms of all-time lists. Like I want to pass this person on all-time assists or all-time, but I don't think they think like, oh, I want to score 1,000 points this season or something like that. You know what I mean? Like that's not how they think about it.
Somebody should, because that's cool. I mean, you should score as many points as you can. I don't know. It's just
no. I mean,
food for thought. I don't know if they've ever thought about that before.
Maybe
in the
players
NBA,
do think about it like that, but I think they more think about like I want to score this many points per game, but and that's how. Yeah, and you're right. It's because a lot of them will sit out games now. I don't know though. Back when they didn't sit out as many games, if they're like more concerned with point totals.
So we're on the same side of this debate, right?
If they should care about like point total for the season.
Oh no, I mean the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, I think I'm in the Minute Bowl camp, but it's
I was saying all that to say Bowl maybe, yeah.
Are we talking a one-on-one or who's better?
I mean, I don't know.
I think Minute Bowl was better. I think Minute Bowl is more of an asset to any team. Let me put it that way.
Wow.
Bowl is you could take him or leave him. I mean, freaking the Magic aren't even that like that. He doesn't even get very high usage on the worst team in the league, one of the worst teams in the league. So
that's a good point, but I feel like you're doing what I would normally do in romanticizing like the big play of a guy who played in the 90s and the 80s even. You know what I mean? The game has changed so much. We're talking about modern day game.
Still grab a lot of boards. You know what I mean? He's still a pretty elite rim protector. He's really long. Wemby averaged 4 blocks per game in the summer league, and so that's where they're like maybe he'll win Depoy because a lot of times the person who just leads the league in blocks per game wins Depoy. That's like the kind of guy Manute Bol is, just really long. Gets his hands on a lot of balls.
Bro did average 5 blocks per game in his rookie year.
I mean,
all right, I'm back. I'm back on the side I should have been on, and plus he put up some stinky stats in his last like 5 or 6 years in the league. We're only played, a dozen games or less. And I think he really hurt his legacy there, but he also probably made a few mil. So
Felix says Curry versus Manute 1v1 who wins. Curry, and it's not close.
It's really not close.
So once Manute figured out that he had to come out to 35 feet to guard Curry, he'd already be down like 9-0 at that point. That would be entertaining to watch purely because it'd be like when Manute has the ball, what happens? Like that dude doesn't dribble and Curry like can't reach the ball. Like I don't know. I don't even know how that would happen. It would be like watching kindergartners.
Manute wouldn't be allowed to dribble at all. He would just have to, whatever he checks the ball, gets it back, and he'd have to shoot. And he'd never.
Yeah, he just takes like one dribble, 2 steps, and then he's like in the paint and kind of floats it up there and see if it goes in.
Fun fact, John, how many oh nope, I don't have that number. Never mind.
Romy switched it up. Curry versus Manute is what Felix says, and then Romy said no, Seth Curry. If it were Seth Curry, maybe Manute's got a chance. But still I think he wouldn't like it would take him a minute to realize like, oh, I gotta go way further out than I'm used to. I'm not comfortable guarding that far out.
Here it is. Seth Curry and Manute Bol versus Steph Curry and Bol.
Steph and Bol.
East.
I think Steph brings the average of that whole.
You don't need to rebound shots that go through the basket.
Yeah,
that's all I know about basketball.
Seth versus Bol is interesting. I do think
you also are not going to get blocks from like in the key on a guy who shoots like 5 feet beyond the arc. So
yeah. Seth versus Bol is interesting. Seth, I think Bol would win one-on-one between him and Seth. Bol's got the skill set for one-on-one. Actually, Seth has got the skill set of like a role player shooter. So, Del Curry, dude, I don't even know anything. I know very little about Del Curry's game.
I think we found it 6-1. I might be on the Bol train on that one. Yeah. Ooh. 6'1"?
Yeah, well, and Bol, his skill set actually is like Bol's probably a better 1-on-1 player than he is 5-on-5 player. Seth, definitely a better 5-on-5 player.
Yeah, Steph is even a better 5-on-5 player, I would say, probably.
Yeah, no, he does a lot of his work off ball for sure.
Yeah, like, but I mean, it's hard to say a guy like him wouldn't do good in a 1-on-1 tournament. But yeah, I don't know. It still feels weird to say Seth Curry would lose to Bol, though. What about? Are we talking prime?
I think
versus
just
prime?
saying that. I think you're just saying that because of his name, though.
Well, he's 32 too. Are we talking prime versus prime?
Yeah, I mean, he's probably at his best right now. He's probably in his prime right now.
Is that even true? Do we know that? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at his.
Is he at his best
with
in
Seth
what would
Curry?
be a 1-on-1,
With Seth Curry,
though?
it's all whatever his shooting percentage is. That's what his prime is, like, or his usage or minutes, however you want to say it. But like, he's probably pretty close to his prime right now.
Pretty close. Fair enough qualification.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't think that there's ever a world where Seth Curry's like a good 1-on-1 player. Bol has a 1-on-1
by the way, his shooting percentage has been in decline for a few years.
Okay,
just for the record.
Fine, take him in his whatever you want to declare his prime, but
I don't think so.
I
guess I don't know. I would love to see the matchup.
I think you're just saying Seth because of the name, you know.
No.
Seth,
I do love the
Seth's
matchup.
a great asset. He's a great asset for a team for sure. You know, like
some people root for the like Mike Tyson versus the other knockout artist matchup. I love the mixed matchups of like totally different play styles. How does it all figure itself out?
I'll put it this way. I think Seth, the same thing I said about Manute Bol that made me say he's better than Bol. Bol might be. But Manute Bol is a better asset for a team. I think Seth Curry is also a better asset for a team than Bol is.
I think everything you just said is probably true. Yeah. Probably.
Curry
still want to see it though.
Curry brothers and their dad versus the Ball brothers. Well, who's the third ball that you're going to put in there? There's only 2 balls. Need a third
and the
ball.
Dad.
LeVar. Oh, well, LeVar can beat MJ 1-on-1, so the Balls win for sure. According to LeVar Ball, he is better than Michael Jordan and could have beat him 1-on-1 in his prime.
Screw the kids, just the dads. Whose dad can beat each other up? Not even about basketball.
Not even basketball. Whose dad could win in a fight? Yeah, because that's what's important when you're a kid. Like my dad.
Who would win a breakdance fighting competition?
I think we've definitely digressed here.
We are. I think it's about time we move on
this
over
is
to
after
playback.
party stuff. This is all after party stuff.
We have about 5 times as many viewers on the after party as we do on the party.
Yeah.
So, the viewers have spoken. It's time for the giveaways. I don't know what we're at on the like numbers.
I'm gonna look. 14 likes. So looks like we're gonna do one giveaway. We'll do some games though. All right, we're going to head over to playback. We can just end this stream right now. If you are listening to this after the fact on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or any other audio platform, we appreciate you getting all the way to the deep end with us. Let us know. Leave a review. We appreciate the episode feedback. If you are watching on YouTube, currently or after the fact, make sure you're subscribed, hit the bell icon to get notifications every time you're live, every time we're live. So you get a notification when we're live. Every time we're live, we're giving stuff away. So make sure you do all that stuff, and we will see you next time on the pod. That's it.
Bye, everybody.